Sweet. So, just wanted to make a quick video again. This is just a recap on Friday, basically where we are in structure. So, currently I'm looking at the DXY. The DXY is still moving upwards. Obviously, we do have a few days ahead of us. So, I'm just basically looking at price trickling over here, probably create some sort of structure here, and we just shoot up. Doesn't really matter how we get there at this point. I'm just observe of when we do get there. Then I'll evaluate how we got there and basically just match up with my factors. But we do have this override, we have this section here, and then potentially a break above and push back down, or even a larger structure that could potentially form. Not very likely in my opinion, but it's always possible. But I am looking at this sort of zone here. The next one, obviously, AUD CAD. AUD CAD is also quite nice. I do like Aussie CAD for the pure reason that it's become very corrective over here, accumulating a lot of price. I do think that this could potentially be some momentum for it to come back up, but as we are currently in structure, we have had a strong push down, broke below that low. We started creating some sort of these are daily candles as well, so huge build up of price over here. It is going sideways, which is very common for Aussie CAD at this point, accumulating this correction, and then potentially we might get last push up, push down, flag, and then we might sell off. So going to be potentially looking at that, potentially looking at a three touch or some sort of structure in there, because it looks like we're going impulse correction, continuation at the moment, and then reversal. So that's it for Aussie CAD. Aussie New Zealand, this one as well. I'm still possibly going to be potentially just aware that we could come in for this right shoulder. Obviously, we have broken this low, so doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to happen. It doesn't usually happen, but what could potentially see as well is if this doesn't shape up, potentially we could see a flag in this sort of zone here. If we see a flag here with a retest over here, and then we start going short, that could potentially be a sell opportunity there. So that's something that I will also be aware of on Aussie CAD, which also aligns with Aussie New Zealand, which aligns with Aussie CAD. Euro CAD. EuroCAD, pretty simple gameplay. Obviously, I am just eyeing up this zone here. If we do get some sort of rejection and we come back into this section here, then we could be looking at shorts and then continuing the rise down. But really, on how we trickled up, we pushed down, and then we just created this larger sort of zone here. It's not that it's not potential for it to go down anymore, but it does seem that price could potentially just start going up. So staying neutral with that one at this point. Euro USD in line with the DXY. I think if the DXY is going up for its free touch, then we could essentially be looking at Euro USD selling off. So, at the moment, I am being very smart with this. We did have this expanding. So, what we had is this 1, 2, 3 sort of area here within here, and it wasn't very clean, but structure. And then as we pushed out, we created an expanding. So, at this expanding, we had the 1, 2, 3, which you can see on the 15-minute a little bit more clearer. 1, 2, 3, equal spacing, scooping nature, and then we came in over here, final structure pattern within a pattern, and then we just basically got to the third touch there. And I kind of looked at this point here as if we're going to sell off, this would be the area to be looking at. Looked on the 5-minute time frame, saw this as a potential flag, and this was an entry. Obviously, you could probably refine it a little bit less if you want to. Probably the safer entry would have been about 30 pips, but definitely the 15 pips step plus was there. So that's pretty much a good position in itself. Running 3% with potential for it to run at least to about 4 and so forth if it does commit. So that's pretty good in terms of management. Just above here at the moment, locked in around about 1%. So it's all good. The next one I'm looking at is GBP New Zealand. This one's pretty good. Obviously, on the 4-hour time frame, we've come in quite corrective to this level here. Obviously, I am not looking at this as the low. We could still drop off and we could get lower and lower, but I am just forecasting that we are making a turning point at some point. So if we are looking at this reversing, I'm looking for essentially just something quite plain and simple, that some sort of correction over here, and then we just go up higher. We come up over here or over the override, and then we see what happens there. So not too fixated on this one. There is some better GBP pairs on the table. GBP Aussie, pretty much same game plan. It looks like we've just shaped up a very messy middle section for this flag, and it looks like we could potentially be going higher. Obviously, nevertheless, we can just drop off and start flagging and going lower, but at the moment, this does look very corrective, and it does look like it could potentially turn around any day now, potentially today. GBP USD. This one I actually really like because there is some structure forming. However, as price has developed and weren't able to commit further, I do believe that now, if we cannot reject over here, we will come down to this low. And when we do come down to this low, we'll evaluate if this is where we're going to be bouncing or if we'll be coming back all the way down. I think at this point here, it's a bit too early and premature to tell, but I think there is going to be some selling opportunity between here to here. And I think it wouldn't be something that I'll be looking to take. I'll be looking to look at this sort of override zone at the bottom. But if there is an opportunity here and we do get a flag and call it around about 25 pips, there's still around about 8% to be made there. So definitely some good trades on the table shaping up. And I think if this is going to sell off, we could see some pretty good selling movement. Just being aware that this can form into something a little bit more complicated because it is slightly sloped. So at this point here, I'm just going to be very, very much on my management game and just be cautious. And that's one of the reasons why I won't be opting in for GBP USD. New Zealand CAD, once again, it's still a very slow mover. Unfortunately, it wasn't ready this week. I mean, I wasn't expecting it to be fully ready, but I thought with some volatility in the market, we might see it just push and get there. And there was definitely an opportunity there, but at the moment, still just seeing it moving in this sort of corrective channel. So, not really going to touch that. Just going to be patient. Euro AUD. So yesterday we did potentially see this drop off, and there was a flag there, and I think a lot of people did get involved on that. It wasn't really a trade I was looking for. I was seeing this as sort of this, and I think this is the gameplay now. That was just a very messy middle section, and we're essentially just moving up, and we're going to potentially come to this override, and then just potentially get higher. So at this moment with Euro USD, it's not really a trade I'm looking at. I think if we are going to sell off, we're going to see some pretty good selling movement, but I think this is a bit away for me at the moment. Euro Swiss is definitely getting into levels of shaping up. Unfortunately, I didn't get this push down and push up. It just committed with a two-touch flag, which I wouldn't say is uncommon, just because it meets with the high time frame. We're so low in structure, we don't need to be seeing those three touches at the moment. Two touches enough, especially with this large corrective movement over here. I think now that we're actually squeezing and pushing up higher, we could potentially see some level of rejection to this low and then potentially create a flag and go further, or we might just potentially just impulse out and create flags and keep on going. So at this point in time, I don't think there's any trade for me to be looking at on Euro Swiss as well. Just going to be evaluating this area and see how we reject. But I don't think I'll be looking to go short. I think I'll be looking to be extremely patient in these areas and just see how price develops. If we get a strong push down and a flag, then yes, okay, I could opt in because we could potentially come back down to a certain low, one of the inflection points, if be, or we could push up higher, create a flag, and go up higher. So that extra confirmation is what I'm looking for. USD Swiss. USD Swiss is also something that I think is extremely nice. I'm seeing a 1, 2, 3 touch pattern. I'm seeing a flag up here. I think the ending structure kind of just painted the picture that pattern separation was extremely important here. However, at this point in time, I don't think there's a trade here for myself. Yesterday, I did get taken out for a few bad trades there. I definitely should have been extra patient. Something that I have to learn personally. I was a bit premature in my trade. However, if taking this trade, I think there was definitely some opportunity in there. It just wasn't very, very clean. So what we had was we had a 1, 2, 3 on the high. And then within that high, we had, a breach of this mini override, this section here, 1, 2, 3, within a 1, 2, 3. And then we had an ascending channel, which isn't so clear here, but when you slice it in like that, you can see that obviously we had a build up of momentum as well. Obviously, this is the 5-minute chart, so it doesn't hold a massive amount of weight, but going on to the 15-minute chart, it was a little bit more clear. However, how we left this was very corrective, and the problem was I wasn't able to capture the trade here, and I don't think I would have taken the trade here personally, but it was still nevertheless it played out. I did take the trade a little bit premature, and I was looking for a flag somewhere below this low, which I guess was my bad management, and then essentially just got tagged out. So that was my fault. USD yen was also one to definitely keep an eye on. I mean, this is typical for yen pairs in my opinion. I see this time and time again. We reach a high and then we just go. And I think with yen pairs, personally, I still need to get a lot of experience with it, but I'm definitely learning a lot from them by keeping them on watch and just observing them on a day-to-day basis. So one of the things I really like about it is definitely we're moving towards some higher time frame target zones. And I think giving it some time with the DXY as well, because we have that larger structure playing out, this could be some big profit target zones. I mean, I don't believe that we're going to be coming all the way back down. I think, we are moving in an uptrend. We have this impulse, correction, impulse, and then we can have a larger correction, maybe even equal to this. This sort of size flag again, that would be something of interest over here. And that kind of would meet up within this sort of zone here. So, this is something that I am kind of excited about really, because there'll be opportunity in here, a lot of opportunity, especially yen pairs across the board. Who knows? So that's something I'll be keeping an eye out. And euro yen. Euro yen was just kept on for just learning purposes. Obviously, I wanted to keep an extra pair on every week just so I can get a little bit better in terms of, I do my back testing, but also live market experience with particular pairs. And I think it's extremely beneficial if you're not trading particular pairs because you have a lack of confidence or you're not too sure about them. It's extremely good to just, keep an eye on them and just learn from them in live market conditions. Maybe just forecast and see, see how you would have adapted on it. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, I forecasted a flag over here, even though I didn't get the flag, it did play out somewhat, but it wasn't what I was looking for. So essentially, I was forecasting from around about this point here. I believe this was the end of the week, the beginning of the week over here. So it was roughly around about here. And then I was basically looking at price, and I was looking at price to sell off, come in, meet with this low, and then potentially even just sell off in a second touch. Second touch was probably what I would have looked for over here if I saw some good rejection, some sort of structure. If it was just impulsive and then came back up, then I would potentially look for the third one with a sell off down there. But regardless, this was the trade, but it didn't unfortunately play out to my favor. What actually ended up happening was it just continued buying. So really and truly, sometimes you get some, sometimes you don't. In this case, I didn't, but we are coming into a larger structure. And if this plays out, this will also be very rewarding. And this is the better trade because essentially I would have just been getting into this counter trade to essentially look for a sell eventually. So at this point in time, more than happy to be patient, especially with the yen pairs all trickling and getting to these structures. I think they're going to sell off together, which is usually the case, or one by one. So pretty much just evaluating that high level area there, but at least we have some structure leading to it, which is extremely important. And then perhaps we might even see some structure within the lower time frames, which would be very, very beneficial. So that's essentially my gameplay of what I've been looking at this week. Unfortunately, probably next week I won't have all of these on watch because, for example, some of them are not really shaping up at the moment. However, there is some better trades on the table, looking at some other pairs. So that's something that I'll be looking at for sure. So anyway, thank you guys. Take care and have a good weekend.